you already hit it?
Yep. Okay, we're green, but we should be on the opening page. So they should be able to hear us
Oh,
but not see us.
uh-oh. Oh, okay.
See us.
Uh-oh.
Oh, oh.
Oh, would you look at that? Oh,
Ah.
okay.
Here we go. All right. Are we ready?
And there's a damn thumbnail. Okay.
Well, no, the thumbnail's on my
Yep.
screen. That's the reason they can see it.
Okay.
All right, y'all ready?
I'll change it later. Yeah.
And pow. They should see us now. We probably can't, but they can. So,
All right.
hey, everybody.
So we are here finally. Nice, nice. So, welcome to the Weekend Wisdom. This week we got Breezetones with us all the way from Australia, and it's what 6 in the morning now over there.
Just on 6. Yep.
Yeah, so it's really early in the morning. So I really want to thank you for waking up early and coming out here and doing this with us. So first, we're gonna start with some buffets real quick. Breezetones, go right ahead, man, and show them what you've been vaping on.
Yes. I have Dovpo V with a drop dead. All of my juice, don't say the word juice. All of my liquids are from Labworks. So in this one, I have butterscotch honeycomb. I also have a proton with a drop dead because I'm a drop dead dude. That has his nonnas custard. I actually don't think that Paul is Italian, but I'm sure he'll probably correct me. I have a Draco with a dead goat, which has my legacy liquid, the Event Horizon, which is a chocolate banana bread custard.
Ooh, that
That's
sounds
banging.
good.
This little drip tip, I want to, can I give a shout out to, this is an Australian-made drip tip
Of course.
by Australian Custom Drip Tips. The other's a DHD because Jess, but these are banging. These are really, really beautiful drip tips. I also have Elder Dragon with Tofo on Pulse 80 with, that's got a little bit of Paul's Lemonade, and I'm still hitting this Caliburn. I don't love it. Everyone loves it, and I don't love it. I'm saying it out there for the internet world.
There you go. Spread the word.
Yep. Yeah. It's all right. It's all right. And that's it. That's what I got.
All right. I guess it's my turn. So, axial on the Dreamer. In there all day. Merge transmission. Got the dead goat on the Keen, stainless Keen, and my other sad boy Shamrock cookie. And I got
Nice.
the Ardent on the red aluminum Dreamer. If it'll focus, I have to put it in front of my face. In there, I kind of got a little mixture here of Grindhouse and Shamrock cookie. So it gives a coffee, but a little bit of mint with it. So it's pretty good. Got the Amit MTL on the Armor Pro. In there, I've got, oh, there it is. The Final Stand, 12 milligram strawberry lemonade. And the Unity on the Shogun.
Unity.
Yep. And in there, got the Parade Maker. Sorry, my hands are shaky. Hazelnut toffee sugar cookie. And I also have a Caliburn. So I think it's pretty good. It's not, but I'm also used to this MTL. So, but in there I've got some smoothie. I had a little bit of this smoothie Maui Wowie Nick salt left over. So I figured I'd throw it in there. But it's got good flavor. It's just not what I'm used to.
Frames is off both of us with the
Nice.
Caliburn.
Yeah.
he's like, nah, it's good.
Now, it's great for a pod, but if you're used to like an MTL RTA or something like that, it's it's still a pod.
Yep.
So, all right, Jay, that's
All
all I've
right.
got.
So is that all you got?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. So I got the Revenant Cartel with the Reload S on top. Just got that in with which I'm pretty sure I don't think it's real. A buddy of mine sent it to me and he said he didn't like it. I don't think this is real. I think this is a clone. It's not that great, but it still vapes really good. So just throwing that out there. Inside that, I got some Marcellus, and then I got the Shogun RDA on top of this little 18650. I think it's the I can't remember how to say it. Cholula, something like that tube.
Oh,
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu.
Nice little tube. Really like it. This is what I've been using. Cthulhu. There you go.
Yeah.
I've been using these single coils to replace my pod systems, and I've really been liking it. Next, I got the M Turk V2 on top of the Keen, all blacked out with some custard shop butterscotch custard. I got the Apocalypse 25 on top of the NATO with the butter cookie from Sad Boy. And then I got my Dead Goat on top of my Red Dreamer I just got in with the Shamrock cookie inside of it. So that's all I'm vaping on. And since we're through buffets, we're going to jump right into some advocacy. And first of all, we see a bunch of stuff happening in the United States, and we hear a bunch of stuff happening in Australia. So, Breezetones, if you could, would you go through just a quick brief thing of everything that's going on besides the government just pretty much attacking the vape industry over there in Australia?
Yeah, they're sticking a large fist inside of most people.
Yeah.
Well, we recently, a couple of days ago, we had a bit of a national event, the Aussie Vape Day, which was organised by our three large advocacy groups, ATHRA, Legalised Vaping, and the New Nicotine Alliance, which was a bit of a orchestrated, situation of news to bring vaping to the mass market. I think it went pretty well. I have to be honest, as someone who it was they had an organised meet in Sydney, in New South Wales. There wasn't any other meetings in the rest of the country, so I was just watching it from the internet, so to speak, and say I didn't see a lot of footage. There was a fair bit of sharing on Instagram and the socials, but it's one of those things you want to support, what's going on around your country. But, I talk a lot about this, with people, and sometimes the organisation, it's a lot of work. I certainly don't discount that. It's an awful lot of work to get people to come to the same place at one time, but potentially I'm not sure how the, post event was, but anything that brings, vaping to those that need to, understand or to find this technology is a good thing. So I'm certainly not going to, poo-poo on that situation. Obviously, we also just had a change of government, an election, which wasn't a change of government like everybody predicted. So our health minister from the past government is now the health minister for the reinstated government. And just prior to the election, he reaffirmed that he will not be supporting vaping. So that was a very large disappointment for Australians. The last 6 months in vaping in Australia is really kind of come to the, as I was saying in the pre-show, was that, mainstream is picked up on a lot of negative situations, but there is also some shining beacons of positive information. University of Melbourne doing a study, University of Queensland doing a study. There's independent things going on, a little bit here and there, and certainly a lot more Australians posting on advocacy and not necessarily cloud checks and hand checks. So the government, and particularly Greg Hunt, I guess, was probably feeling a little bit of the pinch, and came out and said that they would like to do study more. And as I said at the National Press Club conference, forum, debate, whatever you'd like to call it, he reaffirmed that he will not be supporting vaping, and then also said that the other major party will not be supporting it. And that was very, very disappointing. He managed to quote the past FDA head, Mr. Scott Gottliebson, which I love saying that because that's just ridiculous. But I guess the reality is we're following a lot of what's going on in the US, a lot of the misinformation and the, cherry picking. For some reason, they're not willing to look into it further, and we're just taking on the whether you'd call it advice or the news of what's going on in the US. So I guess that's kind of why I focus a little bit on the US for advocacy, because, the better things happen for you out there, the better it happens, the flow-on effect for countries like Australia. So I'm just very in disbelief why, I can understand from the MSA situation and the money and, following the trail why it's going on in the US. It's disgusting, but I understand why it's happening that way. But in Australia, we're a Commonwealth country, so that means we follow the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom is a shining beacon of support. Their government uses the word support, and they already state that they know it's not harm-free, but that word support, they're willing to use that so much in all of their releases, the studies. That word is huge, and I always come back to that expression of, if you change the way that you look at things, the things you look at change. So that's why I love the United Kingdom's stance on it, because they're looking to reduce harm and support those who choose to do that. So that was a lot of words, and you can tell the coffee is kicking in.
Hey, it's all good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's all good information, because I mean, it gives everyone. I mean, we all hear about it, but it gives everyone more of a perspective of what's actually going on more around the world than just here in the U.S. Because we know we have struggles here. We have a lot of different laws that they're trying to pass. We got the tobacco 21s. We got the flavor bans that certain states and counties and cities are trying to put in effect. And then we also have all of the other stuff like, I said, flavor bans, tobacco 21. We have the what's the other one? Can't think of it now. But we have a lot of different laws coming into effect in the U.S. But I mean, it just gives everyone more of a perspective of what's going on around the world, that we're not the only ones struggling. But we always see the people out there who have all the great stuff going on, like in the UK and in New Zealand, where they're trying to be tobacco free and smoke free within a couple of years. And that's pretty crazy, because I mean, they're neighboring countries to like you and a whole lot of other places that are really going through hard times with vaping laws. And I mean, it's destroying a lot of the vape community that could be. Let's all embrace it. Let's say that this is a huge stance. I mean, this is something that could really help us out. Let's all embrace it. And honestly, I mean, I wish everyone would do that, but we know why they don't do that. I mean, there's a lot of different thoughts in my head for why they don't. But one of the biggest one is money. We all know that.
Yep.
But I mean, there's other stuff like we've talked about before, like population control and stuff like that. But I mean, it's crazy how they don't want the well-being of someone, but yet that's the first thing they do is they say, we want everyone to be healthy. We want everyone to have a good life. We want everyone to be able to find a job. But whenever you start doing stuff like this, it's cutting jobs out. You're banning stuff from people to vape. And even if it's just like till they're 21, well, yeah, then you're banning it from them for 3 more years to where they can get a cigarette, or to where they'll be smoking cigarettes for longer, which we kind of figured out didn't really work out.
Yeah.
But I mean, still, even with that, they're cutting people's lifespans down by not giving them the tools that are needed. It's kind of like working at a job. You can't get the job done if you don't have the tools that are needed. How are you supposed to live longer if you don't get the tools to provide, or you're not provided the tools to make it to where you can live longer? Yeah. And, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on here, is because there's so much you can – there's so much you do for the vape community, and all the reposts, all the posts you put up, and I mean, all the stuff inside and outside of social media and YouTube. I mean, there's so much you do, but I mean, it's just always good for people to hear that, hey, we're not the only ones getting the bad end of the stick on this. There's other countries out there. Like we even hear about China too, and like Thailand and places like that. I mean, it's just crazy to
Yeah.
me how something that's supposed to make people, or it's a 95% healthier alternative, but yet you get some countries that look at it like, hey, you're going to go to jail if you're vaping, or you're going to go to jail if you're in possession of nicotine.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. But
Uh,
yeah.
Can I just wanted to, when we were talking a little bit earlier, and you said about Australian situation, I just like to put it into perspective of how our different states are completely all over the shop. I'm looking at the penalty for nicotine possession here in Australia, and if you possess nicotine, you require a prescription.
Wow.
We won't even get into the conversation of how many doctors have that ability to prescribe nicotine to people wanting to quit. It's very tiny. In the Australian Capital Territory, the ACT, it's a $30,000 fine or prison, or both, 2 years prison. In
Wow.
Victoria, it's a almost $16,000 maximum penalty. South Australia, where I live, is a $10,000 fine. The Northern Territory is $15,000 or prison. Queensland is almost $10,000. New South Wales, it's $1,000. In Tasmania, it is. This is via the ATHRA website, the Australian Tobacco Harm Reduction Association website. Also, Tasmania is $7,500 or up to 2 years, and in Australia, 45,000 Australian dollars for a fine for possession of nicotine.
Hey.
I think Sam
Now,
Bogan.
this is just
Sam
for-
Bogan. Sorry.
Now this is just for like liquid nicotine, correct? Like for like putting in like your liquids, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So like if you were carrying around a pack of cigarettes, would it still go towards that? Because I mean that contains nicotine.
I think when you go food shopping and you buy eggplants, it's the same deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'm just making moussaka, man. I'm just making some moussaka. Yeah, but it's
No, but I mean
all
that's just
over
crazy to me.
Yeah. You can't.
Yeah,
You can't
I mean
have
it's
this
just
bottle.
absolutely crazy.
You can't have this bottle, which has a third of the nicotine as a pack of cigarettes.
Yep, exactly. But I can order it into the country. I can come and visit you guys in the US, buy a whole bunch of liquid that contains nicotine, come through customs, bring it through. Like we want regulation. We want like that whole situation of responsible legislation, but and regulation. But the reality is, no one knows their elbow from their behind, so to speak. So it's all over the shop. I was actually, I knew it was, a little bit different, but that was a little bit eye-opening to actually see, figures that are all over the shop. And these are all, the legislation in each state is all by different things, so the people actually, enforcing this is all different situations. The Poisons Act, the TGA, which is the Therapeutic Goods Act, Queensland Health, no one is agreed on who's actually policing this and whatnot. I mean, the reality is you walk around a city like Adelaide, where the vast majority in Australia, our vaping industry was here in South Australia. When we had the legislation changes that now prevent the online sales of, any e-cigarettes or liquids, most of the companies moved interstate, to Victoria or beyond. So even this state suffers like the worst unemployment, I think, of any Australian state, and they've just wiped a whole industry. So no wonder people are leaving in droves,
Wow.
Yeah. That's yeah. Yeah, we thought
Yep.
we had it bad here sometimes. We're like, oh, we have to deal with the sales. I mean, sales taxes are like you said, we want regulation, we want a sales tax, we want this and that, but we want it all to be within a certain amount of we don't want nothing outrageous.
Right.
And the stuff is we're getting stuff like 95% sales taxes, where it's like, okay, what shop is going to be able to stay open? Because if you pay for it up front, and some people are, I can't remember what show it was on yesterday or Thursday or yesterday, but they were talking about like all these shops are going to have to shut down from, it was on, I think it was on the hot tub, but they were pretty much talking about how like 60 to 90% of shops are going to have to close down because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And it's just, I mean, to me, that's a good amount of shops, and it's gonna ruin a lot of jobs. But yet, that's the one thing that everyone in the U.S. says is when they're going for president or they're going for governor, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure everyone can find a job. We're gonna open up more jobs. We're gonna open up more jobs. Well, you're not just closing down vape shops. You're messing up with the shipping companies, because now they're not going to be shipping out vape stuff. So I mean, that's a good portion of stuff. I mean, it's not going to be a whole lot, but it could lay off 2 to 3 people each department, and that could be a lot. I mean, it's going to affect more people's lives than they think. And
Yeah, the majority of these.
it's in the U.S. We think we have it bad, but yet you get fines and you're going to go to jail just for containing nicotine, something that's less harmful for you and safer and help you maybe live a longer life. And I mean, you can't even do that.
Yeah. Something I've actually never thought of, like in the US in particular, and this doesn't require an answer, but like, what states make your cigarettes? And how is vaping being handled in those states? Like think about those big names, your Marlboro and your Camel and all of that situation. Like has anyone actually talked about that? Like do the vaping laws correlate with those cities or states that are, manufacturing tobacco?
Well, one of the biggest farm towns, farm states, Shane, they're the ones who sued Juul, correct?
North Carolina?
Or tried to sue Juul.
Yeah. Yeah, North Carolina.
Yeah, they tried to sue Juul, and they're one of the biggest farm towns for tobacco.
That's convenient.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking up Virginia, because Virginia is going to be one of the bigger tobacco states. So I don't know what they are in Virginia, but that's what I'm looking up now.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, we even have it now to where you can't even have sales. Like Stan was talking about the other day, that he stopped selling to certain states because of you're not allowed to sell to them online. So I mean, they can't even buy stuff in. They have to go to a brick and mortar. And we have people in the Stew Crew. Shout out to the Stew Crew, Stooge fam. But we have people in the Discord that they live like 2-3 hours away from the closest brick and mortar. So if they told that state, hey, your online sales are gone, I mean, it's gonna have to be one of those, hey, once a month trips. You're gonna have to make a good trip and spend a good amount of money to make sure you have enough for a whole month, because you're not gonna be able to order anything in.
Right.
So even so Stan is effectively, like wholesaling to stores. So he can't do that. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think. No. He's not wholesaling to stores. He's like selling online to people who live in certain states.
Right. I understand. Sorry.
Like, yep. I can't remember what. Do you know what state it was? I think it was Illinois or something like
Illinois,
that. Ohio.
Indiana. I know Indiana has some pretty strict laws. I know you can't order e-liquid into Indiana. Erica would know.
Yeah. So I mean, he stopped selling to them.
Arkansas is the same way.
Because of that, he stopped selling to anyone who lives there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's heavy.
But yeah,
it's heavy.
The other thing that this is going to affect, most of these brick and mortars, they order from a wholesaler, so they don't order directly from the actual company. Watofo, Vandivape, whomever. Think about how that's going to affect the middleman. They're not going to. They may have. Let me think. Vapor Stockroom is one of the bigger ones. They may have 100 to 1,000 stores that they deliver to, or that they have accounts with. But if they lose half of that, think about how many people they're not going to need. Mm-hmm. If their orders are cut in half, they're only going to need half the staff. If their tax goes up, that means those people are also going to lose raises. Regardless, because they're going to have to sell, 1.5 times more to 500 shops now to even break even.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's going to kill the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a fair bit going on in
one
chat.
Thing before we get too far in, or go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying that there's a fair few answers going on of that stuff in chat about who's producing tobacco, and Mr. Chuck Allen is providing those for us, and also Connie. But yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Shout out to everyone in chat for sure.
Yep.
Thank y'all for coming out. Thank y'all for bearing with us on the little bit of a problem we had. But before we get too far into the show, and I forgot this last week, is I really want to give a huge shout out to Mr. Clown Vapes. I see he's in chat for the sponsorship for this show. So I'll start putting the description so that way y'all can use it if y'all forget it. But it's Wisdom for any of his clown coils and any of his Mr. J's Vapor Supplies e-liquid. So anytime y'all want to buy some coils or y'all want to buy some liquid from him for the Mr. J's line, throw in that discount code Wisdom and you will get 10% off. And I want to give him a huge shout out for the sponsorship and the support that he gives us and all the love he gives us. I just want to throw that out there real quick because I kind of forgot last week. And this week we will be doing a giveaway. So if you stay in the chat and everything, we'll have y'all X1 probably towards the end and we'll pick one in the last 10 minutes or something like that.
I think because you forgot
one article. What was that?
I was going to say, because you forgot to mention Mr. Clown last week, the sponsorship is ending today.
He said that discount code is only 1% off, man.
Yeah.
I forgot about it.
I'm taking the other 9 back.
We got into some good topics last week. We completely forgot.
Yeah, we got on a roll last week.
But one of the articles I wanted to bring up, I know Shane brought it up to me, and I kind of looked at it too, was that Tobacco 21, let me get it pulled up so I can put the link in chat, but Tobacco 21 is shown non-effective, and they're pretty much saying it's non-effective because you can't stealth smoke a cigarette. You can stealth vape because you're not going to have any smell. I mean, you can blow it in your shirt. You can do whatever you want with it. Yeah, and you're not going to have the smell or anything like that. You can just hide the vapor eventually. I mean, hold it in for however long. But whenever you're smoking a cigarette, you can't do that because no matter what, it's still going to smell. Mm-hmm. You're still going to have something burning on the side of your hands holding it. So they pretty much said that the Tobacco 21 and putting vaping and all that in there with it has not reduced the so-called epidemic. Yeah. So like Shane said, their epidemic turned it into an epidemic now because they're pretty much pulling more people. The people who were smoking cigarettes probably looking at it like now, like, oh man, I could probably hide vaping. Yep. Let me go ask a buddy if he'll go buy me this.
Yep.
And it's just like, did they not think about this before? I mean, I don't know how many YouTube shows. I guess they don't watch YouTube or anything else, but I mean, how many YouTube shows and everyone else said this is not going to work, this is not going to work. They're still going to be able to stealth vape. They're still going to be able to hide it. But yet they kind of just like, oh, well, I mean, it should work. And then come to find out, hey, it doesn't work.
This is going to work. Well, maybe not.
Well, look what's happened in Australia. We introduced, we introduced plain packaging and, taxing everyone through the yin yang, and it's, our smoking rates have stalled. That hasn't done anything. The Australian government likes to say, look at all the success we're having, but our numbers haven't changed. So, even when cigarettes are, $40 plus a packet Australian, it's not stopping people.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you want to smoke, you're going to smoke. I mean, I've been at a place before in my life, it was okay. I can eat lunch today or I can get another pack of cigarettes today. And I kept smoking. So, I'd eat a pack of crackers and go buy a pack of cigarettes. And that's the way it was.
Mike TVA says he thinks T21 is going to screw the underage vaping statistics, and that's why it was done. That's an interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's definitely going to skew it. Because you think the people from 18 to 21 that were vaping before it came in are going to stop? Oh, I'm not 21. I'm not 21. I'm only 19. I can't vape anymore. No, they're going to keep on vaping because they were doing it beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other side that I bring up every time we talk about T21, if they are selling it to underage people and you put in, hey, it's T21, why does it even matter? They're selling it to people below the age of 18 now. Do you think saying, well, now you can't sell it to somebody who's under 21? Well, they're selling it to 16 and 17-year-olds. What's going to make them stop doing it now just simply because they put a law in?
I was buying it whenever I was 16. I mean, we always had that friend where if we couldn't buy it, we had a friend who was 18 and he'd walk right in behind us and buy it for us.
Yeah.
But I mean, whenever I was 16, 17, I was buying.
Yeah, see, I just to be the devil's advocate there, like I wonder how many stores. I know that they talked about that, or the Mr. Scotty Too Hotty did put up some stuff about stores that had either been issued with fines or whatnot in the US of selling to underage people. But does it really happen? Do you think?
Are you talking about like the fines?
No, I mean like there's a store is actually selling to underage people, to minors.
Yes, it is happening. It's happening where
like
I live.
we talked about it in like Shane has someone right down the road and he's reported it to him and said, hey man, you should stop this, and he just doesn't listen. And there was one, I think it was Rite Aid or Walgreens, they failed like 70% of their or no, not 70%. I can't remember the exact percent, but it was a high number.
Yeah, they had 10,000 locations.
Failed compliance check.
Yeah, 10,000 locations, and they had failed 1,800 compliance checks.
Yeah.
Yep.
So which was
okay.
So but then you look at people like Walmart.
No, that's not a vape store. That's a
no.
That's a pharmacy type. I guess kind of like a general store.
Yeah,
They would sell. Like
and then you look at the vape stores. They were getting commended for how good they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vape store, they were getting commended for how good they were doing. And then you look at Walmart, which is like a huge supermarket and pretty much everything. I don't know if y'all have those in Australia, but Walmart here, they pulled their tobacco and made it tobacco 21, and they don't sell to 18-year-olds just because they want to have 100% compliance check. I think they were like 97%. They said they want to make sure they are 100%, so they upped the age to 21, which I thought was, I mean, if you're going to have a reason, have a good reason, not just, oh, hey, we can't get it through our heads that we can't sell it to anyone under 18, so let's move it up to 21. That doesn't do a damn thing. But then you have people like Walmart who says, hey, we failed 3% of our compliance. That should be amazing. We should give y'all a round of applause. But instead, we're going to put something else in effect to make sure that we hit that 100% mark. I think that's outstanding. I think that's good. That's role modelship right there for a huge company. Mm-hmm. But I mean, and then you look at the other places, like I just said, who are just saying, hey, we're going to do it just so that way we can say we're doing it. But I mean, we're still selling to people 15, 16.
Right.
That didn't make no sense to me.
Yeah. Yes.
But and then there's another one where California flavor ban got withdrawn, which is really good. And there's a couple of things coming out of California, like the flavor ban being withdrawn, and then the tobacco 21 being, because California here has like a big political pool. We talk about this a lot, how they get a lot of the voters. As soon as one of the huge states does something, usually a lot of the other states do. So they're seeing, hey, this isn't working for California. I wonder if a lot of the other states are going to go on that and say, man, it's not working for them. I wonder if it's going to work for us or not.
Right.
And I mean, it's to me, it's I wonder how that's really going to settle out.
Chuck is saying,
I mean,
sorry, we don't want to trigger Chuck Allen. The California situation is delayed, not withdrawn.
Delayed. My bad.
Yep.
a little bit more time to fight, which, I mean, it shouldn't really matter because I don't want to say I'm out there every single day at the courthouse doing this or that. I know Chuck does a lot of good stuff with that. I know Grim Green. I know a lot of people who do a lot of good stuff with that. Me, I don't have the time to really do that. I mean, I work a full-time job and I have a lot of other stuff I'm involved in. But I mean, like Shane says, and everyone needs to go check out Shane Oakley's channel because he's doing something right now with the advocacy versus activism. And I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff in there that he's going to teach you about to what you can do to play your role in this, like making the phone calls, writing the letters, emailing, um, scheduling a meeting with them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things you could do besides doing that. I mean, yes, whenever you get a call to action and they say, "Hey, well, you should come out here and you should sit down and talk to all of us about this," then yeah, I mean, it's something. I mean, not sit down with us, but you should come out there and you should go to the town hall or you should go to the state capitol and we should fight this. If you're not able to do that, then you're not able to do it. But I mean, there's so many things you could do to prevent it to get to that spot. And there's like who was it? I think it was Grim Green or someone said maybe there should be a day where we have it to where we schedule it to where everyone calls in that day. Everyone's emailing, everyone's calling in on one day and see if we can get the phone lines to just ring off the hook
Right.
to where they're pretty much like, okay, hey, I got like 10,000 vapors who've been calling me throughout the day and it's getting out of hand. Maybe we should really look at this
Mm-hmm.
and actually do our own study instead of listening to false studies.
Right.
And I mean, like even if you're just an organizer of an event, I mean, just anything. There's so much you can do to get it from from going to the next step. There's a lot
Yeah.
that everyone can do.
I mean, you got to think. Say,
It should be.
go ahead.
I was just going to say the call to action is every day.
Right. But you got to think. You may
Yep.
have somebody
Yep.
that has a lot of connections, say in Washington D.C. You may not have those connections, but they need something. Say they need extra funds to be able to get to Washington D.C. You may not have the funds to give them, but you may be able to organize an event to where you have a lot of people come together and you take donations or you sell items, bake sale, car wash, things like that could raise money to provide that person with what they need to get to Washington D.C. To me that's a form of activism. You may know somebody that is very eloquent in the way they write and the way they a wordsmith, so to speak. Somebody that's very good with articles and letters and things like that. It makes me kind of think of Angela Garrity because she's a wordsmith of sorts. So, but you may not be good at that. But say that person is homebound. Well, who's going to take their letters to the post office? That could be you. So that's also a form of activism. You're making yourself have a part. That's my biggest thing with this series is I want people to understand that there's a role out there for everybody, and it doesn't matter if it's a small role, if it's a role in front of a camera, if it's in front of Congress, doesn't matter. You have a role, and that could be your voice. I always say let your voice be heard, but a lot of times it's not going out there and actually speaking. Your voice can be your action of what you're wanting to accomplish. And I think that's going to be a huge impact, and I hope it's a huge impact for people to understand that it's not all about getting out there in front of people. It could be that you're behind the scenes doing the stuff that people can't do or people don't have time to do because they want to be out in the front of people.
Indeed. Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about some articles and some stuff going on, a lot of stuff about Australia, but what mainly I've heard how you started vaping and everything, but what made you get into I mean, I don't think you really had a choice where you're at, but what made you get into the advocacy and activism part of vaping in Australia? Like, what was your big turning point to where you were like, this has to change, and you started something?
I think it was I kind of it's very kind words that you say that. I don't consider myself, anywhere near as much as I could possibly do. Like, there is a bit of an outlet for that, but there's always more that one can do. So when I found vaping,
Yeah.
it was really like I'd been smoking for far too long, and vaping was really that situation of just, not having combustibles. Very shortly after I started, I got into vaping, I realized, I guess what every vapor does who whether you start out on that little unit or whatnot. I mean, everyone knows if you're a smoker, smokers, because those are the people you hang out with.
Yep.
And it had changed my view on how bad it was for me smoking, because, you justify so many things to yourself, and you work your life around smoking, right? So it very quickly turned into how can I get the people that I know smoking onto vaping? And then I guess at the same time, I found a bit of an outlet on Instagram with my vaping situation, which was literally hand checks and just talking to others about the gear that I was buying and that sort of situation. And I, very quickly realized that, I just wanted to say the things that were on my mind, like that whole phrase of life-changing situation. I don't want to discount that at all. It is absolutely that. So I wanted to just, verbalize or use images to show, how much of myself had changed. So, I mean, I certainly didn't get out and write letters and start calling my representatives, so to speak, from that point. And, even then I'm kind of selective about it now, because I want it to go to the right avenues. But inspiration is one of those funny things. And, the first situation was my wife's mum, and I've talked about this story, a lot. This is a 30-year plus smoker who is not interested in rebuilding or building coils or, learning what the difference between VG and PG is. She just wanted something that wasn't a cigarette. So she's also a strong, independent, strong-willed person. And it wasn't a challenge. It was more like, we always take the advice of our peers more than the authorities. So when I introduced that to her, it was very easy to get her into vaping, for something that was like, this is not going to happen. And, something with a strong personality, it was not going to happen. She took it on board straight away, and that was it. So getting to those people that may not, have access to this technology or don't even know about it, or just think it's swapping one thing for another, I guess that was kind of the inspiration behind me just verbalizing or using images to share that situation of where my life was. So that was a really long answer. but that's really it. I just want to, say the things that I'm thinking, and the politicians and the people in health and the authorities are really making it very easy to express, things against them, because the cherry picking, the politicking, the misinformation, yes, they're powerful, and yes, they have a lot of money behind them. But it's almost ridiculous, the clutching at straws situation, the kids, the ammonia, the seizures, there's science to back all this stuff up. So, how long can they make that message and that narrative of ridiculousness? There's going to be that point when it tips over the edge. And, that's kind of where I think it is now, is that, the Truth Initiative and Mr. Stanton Glantz, and even here in Australia, the anti-vaping people are just sprouting ridiculousness. And, have a look at Twitter. It's really, really easy and fun to watch them getting taken down by people who are far more knowledgeable, of the ridiculous statements that they're making. So, activism, advocacy, whether it's just a photo with an expression on it, or those situations. I mean, that's really what I do, right? Instagram for me is just a place to kind of vocalize those situations. So that's kind of how I see what I do. I share information, and I want the world to take it on board, but I guess the reality is they're kind of making it easy for us.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
And
lot of
as
stuff.
as Addy Tooney said, he said your wife is a kick-ass vape advocate. Now, I've seen it. She
Yeah,
really is.
she's a non-vapor. She was a smoker back in the day, but she was one of those people that gave up of her own strong will. But the journey with her was one of those ones, like, because we both thought that I was swapping one thing from one thing for another, and then effectively when we looked into it further, we realized that the journey that we've taken. My wife is an extremely intelligent person in ways that I could never write, or compose emails and statements. So yeah, she's really taken it on board, and the woman scorned, all that situation. She's an amazing human, and that's what it's about. Humanitarianism. You want people to not be hurting themselves, or hurting themselves less than if they didn't have that choice. So yeah, my wifey, Vape Advocacy AU on Instagram, is kicking goals on her own. Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean that's honestly what you just said is one of the things, or how y'all were like y'all didn't want to kick one habit and pick up another. That's one of the main things I hear from everyone I bring up vaping to is, oh man, I don't want to throw a habit and just pick up another one. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
would you like to pick something up that's 95% healthier? We're like, oh, well, I mean, it's not killing me yet. Well, I mean, it is little by little every day. The more you smoke, the more days, the more hours, the more minutes you lose on your life, the more years. And I mean, that's one of the big things I fight about is whenever they're like, oh, well, it's not killing me yet. And I don't want to throw away one habit and pick up another. If I'm going to quit, I'm going to quit cold turkey. Well, I mean, how many times have you tried to quit cold turkey?
Yeah.
And you just keep seeing it and seeing it and seeing it. And it's just like, man, you keep saying you're going to try to quit cold turkey and it doesn't work. Why don't you try a different habit? Yeah, it might be a different habit, but it's something that's 95% healthier and safer for you, 2 times more
Yeah.
effective than any other kind of NRT or any other kind of stopping agent or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, it's something that's definitely out there that can help people. And I try to fight for that as much as possible, just because it's like, it might be another habit. I guess everyone sees it as a habit because they see me. I'll walk into work with a backpack full of vapes just on what I'm vaping on to try to review and what I like. And I bring like 4 or 5 at least every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll bring like 2 or 3, but they're like, oh, you got a new one? Oh, you got a new one? I think they see it that way, but I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
you could honestly go to Quick Trip and pick up this Enjoy Ace pod system for $1 if you buy a pack of pods. What are you spending? $16 right there, US?
Yeah.
You can spend $16 and you can have something to help you live a little bit longer. And all you gotta do is keep buying the pods. $15 every 2 weeks, every month, however long it takes you to finish them.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's that's the one thing I hate hearing is I'm putting down one habit for another. Well, I mean, it's one habit for another, but something that's way safer and way healthier.
I'm not addicted at all. I'm saving money.
$6 buffet. But I mean, honestly, when you look at it, you're saving money because you're not going to be paying for those hospital bills and all that. So I mean, hospital bills are outrageous. Surgeries for cancer and chemo and all that, they get up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I mean, I haven't spent $100,000 yet on vaping. I'm not getting too close, I hope, but
Yeah.
I know I spent a good amount.
Are you saying that because your wife is in the room?
No. She knows how much I spend. I'll come home and she'll be like, hey, there's another package that came in today. It's on your desk. Oh, okay. The next day, hey, you got another package on your desk. Okay. She knows.
That's all right. I'm sponsored. It's okay.
Yeah. I get this with the bank statement. What is this? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Half the time I'm just like, but do you know the deal I got on this? I
Yeah,
got a great
exactly.
deal on this. I bought this for half off.
It was
They had a
35%
coupon
off.
code.
Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
coupon code.
Hmm.
I saved money that I haven't spent yet.
Yeah.
Addy Tooney says
No,
here.
that's one thing I've been trying to do. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Addy Tooney says here, this always needs to be reaffirmed,
Yeah.
which has also reminded me of there's something I'd like to say. But Addy Tooney says here, I tell people with the mindset that they can transition, then drop the nick level to quit everything. I mean, that's the end game. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's just like that Dave Navarro
Yep.
video. You know, he said he started and then dropped it from 6 to 3 to 0, and then he just put everything down. So if that's the mindset you want, then that's what you need to do. You know, if you want to quit, you can. This is just a tool to help you with that.
Yeah, indeed.
Absolutely. A huge shout out for him for standing up for the vape community, saying when the guy's like, "Oh, those things are just dumb and silly, aren't they?" He's like, "No, they're not." And then whenever the guy's like, "Oh, well, I mean, all my friends they vape and they don't put it back down. They just pick it up and they keep vaping." It's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's still something that's safer for you and healthier for you than smoking a combustible cigarette.
And it tastes much better.
Honestly, I want to give that. Yeah, and I mean, you can find almost any flavor in the world.
Now you may go through about 40 before you find a good one, but they're out there.
Yeah, indeed. I actually put it onto that person, that guy, and the way he's asking those questions. I don't know whether he was just trying to be that person of pointing the finger, but like, look at it differently. Like, the guy's not smoking anymore, so like, I don't know, support. It's that word support. It keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Yep. So, Mr. Breezetones, I know it's early in the morning over there. And I see you had a couple cups of coffee, but is there any questions you have for us?
Question? No, I have not thought that. No, you're putting me on the spot, man.
Shane, do you have any questions?
No, I follow Breezetones pretty close on Instagram. So pretty much any question I've ever had has been answered through there.
I am pretty predictable. There's no doubt.
I actually have one for you. What made you want to? I know you like building, and I know it's a lot of people say it's very therapeutic. You can do it, and you kind of get put in a good mood, and you're off in your own world when you're doing it. And it's something honestly I really want to pick back up, and I want to start trying to build again. But what made you want to start building and start selling all your coils and stuff? It's not just for money. I know. I mean that's a good reason why is I can make money off of this, and I like doing it. But what's one of the reasons why you wanted to start selling coils and you want to start your own little online store for that?
Like everything in life, I want to improve situations, even if it's by 0.1%. When I started vaping, obviously I started with a very small unit, and thought I'm enjoying this experience. Surely there's something better. So then you make the natural progression from an all-in-one unit to a sub tank, and then different coils with the sub tank, and then here's a box mod. This is going to give me better power and better battery efficiency. So then you move to that, and I guess the reality was that the world of the RDA was something that I was a little bit scared about getting into, building, knowing it was electronics, and just, I guess, I mean, there's no real difference in buying a unit and plugging it into a tank and, learning how to, prime a coil head and it's the same, right? So I guess I researched it a little bit and then thought to myself, well, I'm not going to do this without the right tools. So I bought, a toolkit so that I had an ohm meter and, that situation. And of course, it was a bit of the natural progression that, buying coils was one of those situations where I wanted to buy better coils. So I found coils here in Australia, built by probably, one of Australia's best builders. and obviously the wire quality was outstanding. So I was thinking to myself, this is a pretty intricate situation, and if I bought a couple more tools, maybe I could learn to do this myself. And I've only ever really focused on an alien coil. There are some incredible coil builders in the world who build, it's an art form, no doubt.
Yeah.
But aliens for me was one of that situation where that was my end game. If I only ever had alien coils for the rest of my life, I would be a very, very happy person. So,
Same here.
The good thing about the vape industry, different in the industry that I work in, is that people are very free with their information and their knowledge. So a couple of weeks of looking at videos online and, seeing all of the different situations on tutorials, before I got into building coils, I already had a pretty good bank of knowledge, picking up little things from here and there. Building an alien coil for me was actually not that hard a process. I didn't have a really, I didn't waste an awful lot of wire to get to the point where I was happy with my own, situation. And that's really what it was. It was just, I wanted to buy better quality wire so that I could build my own coil and do it myself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always improving, and that's when people get my coils, I harass them for feedback. I want to know, what do they think, and how is their performance going, and things are always changing in my processes. But I guess the reality was, I wanted to get into it. It's not about making the money, and I guess the reality is, yes, it is a business because I do want it to continue, and that's really what it is. But the experience, the end experience, there are those vapors who maybe might not go, not improve or go back to cigarettes, or because of the experience that they had, is not the greatest that they could have. And that's always looking for liquids or looking for a better device, so that was really the motivation for me. And now it does turn into a bit of a therapeutic thing. Like I love building. I only build one coil. I don't, I leave the art form up to those people who have got talent in that area, and all I wanted to do was focus on one thing. I'm not the person who invented it. There is an awful lot of amazing builders out there, but I certainly, I'm learning now that perhaps I am skilled in that situation, and that was why we set up the business. So you can please buy my course. But it is a massive situation. I mean, it wasn't just a little bit better, buying really good quality wire and having someone build your coil. It was a whole next level of end experience. So I mean, that's kind of where I want people to get into it. I mean, obviously all these people in chat are they're all experienced hobbyists, so they understand the difference between cheap wire and good wire, and particularly with a good build and good wicking, but that situation is, I still feel that there is room to move with, a little bit of technique and a little bit of situation. And every time I build, there's always a little bit better. So, I just want to do one thing well.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, one of the things that I want to start building coils for is because I want to learn so that way I can teach other people. Because, like you said, you want to be able to improve to help people get a better experience. That way, later on down the road, they're not going back to cigarettes. And that's one of the reasons why I do reviews, is because I don't want people to be afraid of vaping. Because I mean, you look at almost every setup to start out, it's anywhere from $30 to $100 to start out with, either a pod system in juice or liquid, or a device, a dual battery device with an RDA or a sub tank and batteries and liquid for that too. I mean, it gets pretty expensive. So I want to be able to spread my knowledge of, hey, I already have this. Let me just show you what it is. So that way, if you want this, instead of just, okay, let me look up, okay, well, here's a description of it. That doesn't really explain much. I want to be able to show people so that way they could be like, you know what, I want to try that liquid, or I want to try that mod out, instead of them kind of throwing their money at it and not liking it. Then you invested in something to where you're like, man, that's not very good. But I definitely want to start doing builds mainly because I love aliens. That's pretty much all I vape on is aliens.
Yep.
But I want to learn how to do some more stuff with that. So that way maybe I can teach someone and pass down knowledge, and so that way I can maybe share the love and give out some coils and stuff. Because I mean, some if you get a good quality coil, you never want to take it out of the RDA.
Yep.
And I mean, I got like some dirt coils in here, and they've been in here for like 3 months, and I have not replaced them. I just clean them. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
stick.
Indeed.
I'll stick with you guys making the coils because I have an essential trimmer in this hand, and I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do anything really exact. I mean, it's hard for me to do RDAs and stuff, but I can do a lot of stuff left-handed. So I'll just let y'all do it, and then I'll buy them from you.
Done. Easy.
Yep.
But it's one of those things you could do it with like Connie's saying she wants to try. Like, absolutely, you should, Connie. Like just a drill and some swivels and some wire and some clippers and a couple of other tools, and you can do like good coils. I mean, before I bought a bit of a setup, I was building aliens on fishing swivels and a drill. So it's not. There are easier ways to go about it, but you can certainly make, an incredible coil with very small amount of tools that don't cost a lot of money. Spend the money on the wire, buy good quality wire. Spend a little bit on the swivels. Spend a little bit on the drill. Like, don't just buy the first drill that you can see. Like, find one that's got a nice chuck with with fine points on it. So that it will grab the wire easily. Set yourself up in a nice table, put yourself in an area where it's not going to be a hard issue to do. Like, make the job easy for yourself. I just think it's one of those things that people get into it and they're like, oh, I've got a drill and I've got these shitty pliers and I've got this wire that came with the build kit, and then no, I'm not going to build anymore because it's too hard. Like, well, yeah, but look at the way you set yourself up. Like, you didn't make it easy for yourself in the first place. So that's all I did was literally watched a few videos. I spent a weekend watching as many build videos as I could. So then, by that end of the weekend, I knew which wire to buy. I knew which pliers I needed. I knew the swivels. I could see the swivel setup. Knowing that one swivel is probably not the way to go. So use 3 swivels in a row. So in case one seizes, like those sort of situations. Go slow. Take a deep breath. If you get it on your first go, stoked. If you get it on the 12th go, like it's not an easy situation. So start out easy and make it easy for yourself. I'm just repeating myself now.
Yeah, and most builders will even tell you just start. The setup is the main thing. If you're prepped for it and you're not all set up and all your preparation is not good, then you're going to have a crappy time building it. But if you take the time and you prep out everything and you have everything lined out perfect and you take the time before you actually start, then everything just comes out amazing. So that's one thing also, just make sure you take your time when you're starting out. And then even when you get later on down the road, even M-Turk said it, and AJ Holland, he said it. He was like, oh yeah, I mean, there's times where I'll sit there and I'll prep for 30 minutes and I have a crappy build, or I'll sit there and I'll prep for an hour and a half, and everything just comes out perfect. So I just keep going with it. I mean, if you need to, take a deep breath, start over. It's just like everything else in life. Just take a deep breath and restart what you're doing, and I mean, you'll be fine. It's just wire.
Yep. But absolutely, I think prep is 90% of it. Like the last stage, putting it all together is actually kind of the easier bit. I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but that's really it. The 90% prep. So I've gotten to the stage where it'd take me, an hour to build one pair of aliens because, but now I'm doing, a lot of aliens in a shorter amount of time, but I'm spending far more time in the prep. So that situation, absolutely, prep is key.
Yeah. So we're going to probably run this for about 15 more minutes. Good for you, Shane? Since y'all are starting at 5.
Yeah, probably be good. Probably need to get out of here about 10
Okay.
till.
Yeah. Okay, so if everyone wants to go ahead and X1 in the chat, we're gonna give away a set of clown coils of your choice. So just X1 in chat, and then whoever wins, just get with either me or Shane, and we'll get in contact with y'all, and we'll figure out what kind of coils you want. Because I mean, you can get the coil sticks. I know the last person who won, he wanted some mouth to lung coils, and Clown was like, "Okay, man, I'll see what I can do for that." So I mean, we're gonna try to help y'all out, and not just tell you, "Okay, this is the basic one you can get." So I mean, just go ahead and start X1 in the chat, and then let's see uh let's see who wins this
Connie.
time. There you go, Connie. Just keep
Yeah.
X1. But while we're going through that, Breezetones, I want to thank you again for coming on here. I mean, I know it's super early over there for you, and you had to wake up real early and make yourself some coffee, but ex potato. But yeah, I mean, I really want to thank you because we really appreciate what you do, because it's not like you just sit there and you deal with just the stuff in Australia. You still try to stay up to date with stuff over in the United States. You still try to make sure you know what's going on. And I mean, because you do a show with Vape Malone and NorCal Sick Boy Chuck Allen. So, I mean, you do a show with them. And I mean, I see that you still try to stay up to date with stuff in the U.S. And a lot of your posts are stuff with the U.S. and Australia. So I mean, I really want to thank you for that. It's really awesome that you still aren't just worrying, like even Bogan. I mean, y'all don't worry about just y'all. Y'all try to worry about everyone, because I mean it's a whole community, and that's where I'm leading to my next conversation real quick. Is it's a whole community, and your last post, or one of your last posts, where it says we need to be united, that's something I see as a big thing. It's why are we fighting each other? I'm not asking for an answer, but I'm just saying, like, why do we fight each other whenever we should be fighting the people who are trying to fight against us? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I mean, it's just crazy how the vape community is so divided, and there's so many arguments, there's so much drama, there's this or that, or he took my idea, she took my idea, he said, she said. It's we in especially a time like this, like maybe years ago, whenever we had nothing getting looked at for us, or maybe after all this blows by and we eventually start all the other stuff and everything's good, maybe then we can start with the drama stuff. But I mean, still keep it a little bit low. But I mean, it's just crazy. Why is there? I don't understand why there's so much drama. Whenever this should be all. I mean, you could take that extra 5 minutes and put it into writing a letter instead of the extra 5 minutes of trying to troll someone. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
The
And
show we
it's
did with
to me, it's just crazy.
Dr. Glover, Dr. Mariwa Glover from New Zealand. One of the statements that she said was, she was saying, you know, we're here for you, like meaning, you know, people who are trying to give up cigarettes. And she said, you also have to put it into perspective that these people who are against vaping, you know, are in the thousands. You know, people who are vapors are in the millions. You know, that's one thing that I will never forget. You know, like we see the division and we see the drama and we see all of this situation of going on. But again, you have to be the change. And I know it's so cheesy, but you got to be the change. You know, like if we were to put all the vapors in the world in one place and then put the antis in another place, I mean, could you think about those numbers? You know, that's an incredible amount of you know, a tidal wave against a tiny little pond. So that's kind of the motivation that I will never forget, is that, you know, there are hundreds of them and millions of us. So if we could get over our little spats and get over the division of, you know, that person only smokes a pod and, you know, or vapes a pod, and that person, you know, is a hardcore builder, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the device. It doesn't matter what's going on. It matters that people are not smoking cigarettes. So it is a matter of time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all for harm reduction. We're not trying to do it. We're it's not like we're trying to do it to blow big clouds and stuff like that. And I mean, honestly, shouldn't matter what someone's vaping on. Like I saw a guy yesterday in one of the groups. He was doing a cloud check for one of his devices that he was like, "Man, I'm selling it. It's not satisfying me. I tried someone's pod, it satisfied me, so I love this thing. It's an awesome mod, but I'm selling it because I want to get a pod device because I want to have something that's satisfying to me, so that way I can stay off of smoking cigarettes."
Yeah.
And he pretty much said it in the whole thing is this is all for harm reduction. It's not for what looks badass, what blows big clouds, what all you like. It's what's gonna satisfy you enough to get you away from cigarettes. Like me, it's not the clouds, but the density of the vapor. If I have a dense vapor, it could be on a pod system or whatever. As long as it's dense, I'm happy with it.
Yep.
I like
It
it all.
satisfies me. Some other people love the throat hit. Some other people love the nicotine levels or the salt nicks and all this and that. But I mean, to me, I'm not going to sit there and say, "Hey, man, you got a pod system. That's stupid." No, I mean, if it helps you get off of smoking cigarettes, I mean, even the people who use Juuls and stuff like that, yeah, if you're using that to stop smoking cigarettes, that's perfectly fine. I mean, it's going to make you so much healthier in the long run. Why argue it? And why make drama and make trolls out of it? To me, it makes no sense.
Whatever works for you is the way I look at it. It could be this or it could be this. It doesn't matter to me as long as you're not smoking. That's the big picture. I don't care what you use. So, but I can say that Connie probably won. She put about 4,000 X1s through the chat. So,
well,
we can
Connie, Spoon Sauce, and DC. They have X1s in here. Do you have a randomizer?
Yeah, I got one. Hold on.
Yeah, because
and Swaggins.
Connie 1,000 times.
Swaggins has got too much nice. He's got too much nice gear. I think he's yeah. Sorry, Swags.
Yeah, Swags can go buy his own calls. All right, so we got DC, Connie, and Poon. Here we go. Randomize. We're doing on 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll do 3.
There's number 1, number 2, and number 3. Poon Sauce.
Oh, Poon Pants. And speaking of Mr. Poon Pants, make sure y'all go after this show, probably about 10 minutes after. Go over there and check out him. He is going to be showing Mr. Shane Oakley off and What's Your Story? And he's going to be talking to Shane a little bit more about it. I know Breezetones wanted to get to that, but I guess we're going to have to save that for in a couple minutes. So make sure y'all make y'all's way over there to figure out what his story is, and we'll get to see a little bit more of Shane Oakley, a little double header of Mr. Shane. But we're running to the end, so Breezetones, thank you again. Is there anything else that you wanted to close out with, or any ending statements, or anything you wanted to get out there to the people?
Can I do a little self-promotion? Is that okay?
Of course.
Oh,
yes,
thank you.
And self-promotion. Go for it.
Awesome. You can check breezetones.com for some aliens. Please check out Vape Malone's YouTube channel for the Three Amigos show with the gorgeous Chuck Allen and the bearded Viking, Mr. Vape Malone. Also, there will be a discount code for Breezetones coils that we'll be putting on that show. That will be coming up this week. So that's going to be cool. What else is there? Thank you to everyone who listened to our chat, and thank you to both you guys for having me on the show. It was a big honor. I love talking to anyone about vaping, so thank you very much. Yeah,
no problem
that's
at all.
it.
Thank you.
Stay strong. Yeah,
so
stay strong.
Jay, what you got coming up on your channel this week?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on. It's let's see. I have a couple things from Times Vape I'm going to be reviewing. Some stuff it's not really new, but it's stuff I was waiting on other stuff to come in, so that way I can do a review on it and show you some more stuff with it and some neat stuff. So I got a device and I got an RDA that I'm going to be reviewing. And then Friday, I'll be having the mail time with Texas Cloud Town up. So there should be maybe 3 reviews this week, or 2 reviews and 1 mail time. So it's going to be a
Awesome.
lot of things coming on my channel. I got a lot of stuff I need to review. I just haven't been doing it. So this week, I'm probably going to break down and review a whole bunch of stuff. And I'll be changing my shirt a lot so that way it doesn't look like I wear the same shirt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got a couple reviews coming out. Weekend Wisdom next weekend. Make sure y'all tune in. Another special guest, most likely. So just make sure y'all tune in for that. We're definitely love having guests on there, so that way we can kind of hear what their story and the struggles they're going through and the ways that they kind of overcome those. Because I mean, it's hard to overcome stuff alone. So it's always good to get your story out there, because you might be sitting there thinking, oh, well, I have the same thing going on at my house that Breezetones is going through over there in Australia. So, I mean, it's good to get other people's stories out there to see how they fought through it. So that way maybe you could help someone else out. So that's one of the main reasons why we like having people on here.
Yep.
And also, last statement I want to say is make sure we all stay united. We are a family, we are a community. I see it the most in the vape stew, that it's one of the biggest families, one of the biggest communities. I know there's the hazers out there, there's all these other communities out there, but I mean, if we could just bring all of them together, because I mean, the vape stew, like, if someone's having a bad day, the first thing is if they say, "Hey, I'm having a bad day" or something like that. First thing everyone does is, "Hey, man, how are you doing? Hey, man, how are you doing? I hope you're having a better day. I'm sorry to hear about what happened."
Yep.
Everyone's just so nice and helpful. I wish everyone else could, or I know everyone else can be like that, but I wish it just wasn't so divided. I wish we were more united, because we need to attack this fight that we're having with the FDA and everything, and this war we're having. We need to fight it all together. We can't fight it with little waves of people at a time. It needs to be all one big wave at one time. If we can do that, I think we could overcome so much. So just stay united, stay out there, keep it cloudy. What about you, Shane? What you got? I know you got some good stuff coming up.
Well, I have more notes for episode 2. We're going to take more of an in-depth look at advocates and advocacy as a whole. That's not a word that's just directed at vaping. There's people that advocate for everything, LGBT and all that. That's the majority of what you're going to find if you just search it online. Is people talking about LGBT advocacy, because it's more mainstream. But the premise behind it all is the same. So I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper into what is advocacy as a whole, or advocates. And then, probably the week after that, we'll move into activism. Activism and activists, because I think activists have kind of got a, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe they've been kind of shown in a bad light in the past, because a lot of people see activists, you say the word and they think of the people that do a sit-in and catch themselves on fire, as an activist, which they are, but they don't have to be. You don't have to be that person. There's so many other things you can do. And but I just want to do those, real deep dives into, all the different roles that people can have. And, I always say it, let your voice be heard, no matter if it's with an action, no matter if it's your actual voice. But thank you all for tuning in. Probably be Wednesday, Thursday when that next video drops. But, thank you guys a lot for coming. And thank you, Breezetones, for coming on with us.
No problem.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
But so everyone out there, just make sure we stay motivated. Let's stay out there. Let's get active, and let's keep it cloudy. We'll see y'all next week.